Imagine you're sitting in a tiny monastery room in the Italian mountains on a cold winter night in 1936. You're chatting with a priest when suddenly he collapses to his knees. The room goes dead silent. This priest, Padre Pio, whispers urgently, "We must pray. Someone is about to meet God." Everyone kneels and prays. Nobody knows what's happening. After a few moments of silence, Padre Pio gets up and asks a simple question. "Do you know who you just prayed for?" Blank stares. Nobody has any clue. He reveals the answer, the King of England. And here's the mind-blowing part. At that very instant, thousands of miles away in London, King George V is dying. But here's the kicker. The public doesn't know. The newspapers haven't reported anything. There's been no announcement that the king is even sick. Yet somehow, this humble Italian monk knew, and he was praying for a king whose nation had abandoned the Catholic faith centuries ago. This true story is documented in one of the most comprehensive biographies ever written about Padre Pio. And trust me, what you're about to hear gets even more incredible. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button, because we're exploring more remarkable stories about saints, miracles, and how God moves in mysterious ways. Let's dive into what really went down that night, January 20th, 1936. 3 ordinary visitors are in Padre Pio's modest cell at the friary. They're having a regular conversation when out of nowhere, Padre Pio hits the stone floor on his knees. His voice is serious, almost urgent. "Pray now. A soul is about to stand before God's judgment." The visitors immediately kneel beside him. They pray together in complete silence, not knowing who or what this is about. When the prayer ends, Padre Pio stands up and poses the question, "Do you understand who we were praying for?" They're totally confused. The King of England. Now, his companions remembered later that there was zero indication anything was wrong with the king. No news stories, no rumors. Nothing suggested he was even unwell. But when morning came, front page news across Italy. King George V of Britain is dead. So who was this king? George V ruled Britain starting in 1910 and guided the country through the First World War. He was a disciplined, by-the-book monarch, and when it came to Catholicism, he openly rejected it. After taking the throne, he dismissed traditional prayers honoring the Virgin Mary and the Catholic Mass. He labeled them as outdated superstitions. He wanted nothing to do with Catholic traditions. Fast forward to that January night in 1936. The king is in his final hours, struggling with severe lung disease. And here's a disturbing detail. His personal doctor administered a deliberate overdose to end his suffering quickly. As the Archbishop of Canterbury recited prayers for the dying, the king's final words to his doctor were bitter and angry. Moments later, he was dead. At the exact same time, in a quiet Italian monastery, Padre Pio had already begun interceding for his soul. Here's something fascinating about Padre Pio. He frequently spoke about encountering souls from purgatory who came seeking his prayers, and he never turned anyone away. Rich or poor, sinner or saint, believer or doubter. To him, every soul mattered equally because every soul belonged to God. England had split from the Catholic Church way back in the 1500s when King Henry VIII decided to make himself the religious authority and establish his own church. For hundreds of years after that, England remained separate from Rome. But on this particular night, something extraordinary happened. The spiritual distance disappeared because Padre Pio's compassion didn't recognize borders or denominations. He didn't care if someone was from a different country or practiced a different faith. He prayed for anyone in need, including those who had rejected the church. Why would he do this? Because whenever he looked at any person, no matter how lost, he saw what Jesus saw, a precious soul worth saving.